Watch this.
Wildfire season may be lasting longer lately, but it's also beginning sooner. Early enough, it's putting a strain on relief efforts by Idaho's Red Cross. Those fires are already torching hundreds of thousands of acres across the West, a lot of them on public land, something our country has been officially managing for 78 years.
Every time I try to brush it, it hurts so bad.
Don't you mean it hurts so good? Apparently when it comes to hairstyles. But it must be worth it to be one of the masterful Mississippi mudflaps competing in the National Mullet Championship, right? Well, the sky and the air quality out there have made it clear, although today both are a little bit better in southern Idaho. Fire season is in full swing across Idaho and the rest of the West. We are keeping tabs on several of those fires, including the Bench Lake fire outside of Stanley. Forest Service says it's burned nearly 1,300 acres near Redfish Lake. None of it is contained at this moment. In eastern Oregon, the Cow Valley fire is the big one burning in Malheur County. The good news, some of the evacuations have been lifted, but the fire is only 16% contained, and it's charred more than 133,000 acres. Second on our list in terms of acreage, the Falls Fire in the Malheur National Forest. Evacuation orders have been issued for Grant and Harney counties in eastern Oregon, and the fire started last week burning more than 64,000 acres. Most recently, the Texas fire in North Idaho near Kendrick. Latah County Sheriff's Office has issued level 3 go evacuations due to the proximity to the town. It's fairly small as of now, having burned about 1,200 acres, but as we said, it is threatening around 60 structures in the area. So with these fires and the evacuation orders, many are having to leave their homes with really nowhere to go. And as Hunter Funk found out, this early start to the wildfire season has turned up the heat for the American Red Cross disaster relief teams.
We're definitely off to an early wildfire season.
Hot temperatures, dry conditions. They're igniting fires across Idaho, Montana, Oregon, all around the region.
We recently had a shelter open on the fairgrounds in Ontario where we helped several people who were displaced by the Cow Valley fire there.
Doreen Gardner was one of those volunteers, an ember of hope for those who lost a lot in the Cow fire.
Some of them lost everything, and just being able to help them get their feet back on the ground. Everyone chipped in that area to help with the horses and the cattle, and a lot of rangeland was lost. So I feel really bad for the ranchers.
Gardner is from Boise, volunteering across the U.S. wherever she's needed for 4 years now.
When my husband passed, I had time and I retired, and I do love to travel. So I was looking for volunteer opportunities where I could travel with purpose. And so I came across the Red Cross. Plus, they meant a lot to me when they helped my sister when her house burned down in California.
With wildfires picking up, Gardner says she and other volunteers have no plans of slowing down. The disaster relief team brought back the team from Oregon, and at 3:30 Tuesday, they deployed another team for the Texas fire near Kendrick.
We're able to do all this work because of our volunteers. About 90% of our workforce are volunteers who raise their hand to come out and help people, friends, neighbors, people they don't know and need during disasters, including wildfires.
In the off-season, the American Red Cross trains volunteers, works on shelter agreements with churches, gyms, and schools, so the group can open doors quickly when the people need to evacuate.
We have shelter trailers full of supplies such as cots and comfort kits that contain things like hygiene items and things that get left behind when people have to evacuate quickly.
Red Cross anticipates a busy season, as August is typically one of the tougher months with wildfires. But no matter the call, the group says they're ready to respond.
We stand ready to open a shelter there and help out as needed once that call comes in as well.
There is now a shelter opened at Kendrick High School for that Texas fire. Again, that was open just a little bit more than an hour ago. And Brian, with an early start to the fire season, this means there are going to be more needs when it comes to donations.
Yeah, this thing's moving quickly, especially with the weather conditions. So what kind of donations do they need for the Red Cross?
You know, I thought this was really interesting. They are just looking for money. The reason they ask specifically for money instead of items, it's because you're dealing with different people, right?
Yeah.
You need different sizes, you need different food, and whatever cash ends up coming in, that can go to the local economy to help through what they're dealing with.
And depending on where those fires are, people need different things in those
Yes.
locations. I
yeah,
get that.
clothes, food,
Yeah.
you name it.
All right, thanks, Hunter. All right, well, several of those fires that are burning on public lands across the West, like the Falls Fire in eastern Oregon, burning in the Malheur National Forest, like we mentioned, the Bench Fire near Redfish Lake, that's in the Sawtooth National Forest. Public lands and the management of them go back to the beginning of this country. There's one federal agency in charge of 1/10 of America's land. The Bureau of Land Management manages 245 million acres. 12 million of those are in Idaho. And today is the anniversary of the BLM, created on this day in 1946. That doesn't seem that old, I know, but the idea of managing land that is public is even older than our republic. While America's autonomy was declared on July 4th, 1776, the actual revolution to establish that independence didn't actually end until September 3rd, 1783. By signing the Treaty of Paris, America now had new lands south of the Great Lakes and east of the Mississippi. Well, new to us. 2 years later, the Congress of Confederation, what we called our government back then, adopted a land ordinance to allow the rectangular settlement of public lands. With our push westward, we increasingly had a plethora of public lands. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 nearly doubled the size of the United States. By 1812, there was a need to centralize control of America's acreage, so the General Land Office was established under the Treasury Department. The Oregon Treaty with Great Britain in 1846 gave the U.S. chunks of the Pacific Northwest, including land that would become Idaho, more than 40 years after Lewis and Clark wandered across it. Then came the Homestead Act in 1862 and the Carey Act in 1894. Both would give away pieces of public land to promote settling the West. Settling would mean ranching and the need to feed livestock. So, in 1934, the Taylor Grazing Act granted grazing districts across all western states. They called it the U.S. Grazing Service. But it took President Harry Truman to take the two entities, the General Land Office under the Treasury Department and the Grazing Service under the Interior, and consolidate them under the newly created Bureau of Land Management on July 16, 1946, 78 years ago today. Idaho's first land office opened in 1868 in Boise. Bounced around a bit after that, moved and merged through the years and through the state. There were once 5 grazing districts in Idaho, most of them in the south and southeastern part of the state. And those 5 became the BLM district offices in 1946 when it was established. So today there are 4 BLM districts. That'd be Boise, Coeur d'Alene, Twin Falls, and Idaho Falls, managing again almost 12 million acres of public lands across Idaho, which is nearly a fourth of all land in the Gem State.
Some big sunsets with this smoke, but speaking of smoke, you can see up here around Redfish Lake, of course, this is the camera, Redfish Lake Visitor Center, and you can see the smoke out here in the distance, not just in the distance, of course, it's covering the whole area, but you can see the concentrated area where the fires are. Really sad to see up around Stanley. Beautiful place, and if you look at Stanley itself, you can see the smoke throughout the area here as well. Visibility is not much better there than what you see here in Boise. So I'll give you a little distance so you can see some of the foothills here. But of course, we do have smoke throughout the valley, and that's going to continue. This is Sun Valley from earlier this morning. You can see the smoke around that area much more than you can during the daytime, but still kind of smoky through the Sun Valley area as well. So you can see smoke is all over everywhere, as we've been talking about. We hit 100 degrees today. This is the first time in well, since Sunday, okay? So it wasn't long after those hot temperatures. And we're going to be getting back to some of those excessive temperatures, probably going to be into Wednesday, tomorrow, as well as throughout the weekend where it could get really hot again, well above 105 degrees. So here's 92 degrees for Twin Falls. These are all the high temperatures. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the smoke. Well, there's smoke all over the place because there's fires all over the place. And when you look at the red and even the darker colors through here, we're talking about thick areas of smoke. Here's Boise. It works its way around, but still works its way through, and it's going to do that as we continue on through tomorrow as well. So the air quality, just in the last hour or so, Boise itself has come up to the unhealthful category for sensitive groups. It may come down just a bit because it's been so high, Most other areas that are yellow are numbered up around 100, which is pretty close to the orange category. They're about 97. And right now, Boise's 104, so it just barely went into this area here. But we'll watch it closely through the week because as difficult as it is, and also the heat. Now, when you take a look at this is excessive heat and a watch. Starts Thursday, runs through next Monday, could even be extended to next Tuesday for all these hot temperatures that are around the area. So just to show you this map too, we do have dry conditions through the valley. Most of our days are 10 to 15% in the way of humidity. But to give you an example, if Atlanta had 90 degrees and 75% humidity, it would feel in the heat index like 105. Now, Haley yesterday had 72 degrees. And it had 41% humidity because of a thunderstorm nearby, so the heat index was still at 72, showing us that you got to get up to around 40 to 50% before it really starts adding to the temperature, because Boise yesterday had 99 degrees with 15% humidity, and the heat index was at 94. Doesn't feel like that, does it? But yeah, it does come down just a little bit. It's hot around the area. We've got more thunderstorms, so be watching for this. Some of these thunderstorms that will move through the area, as you see through here, as well as southern Idaho. And of course, Twin Falls tonight has a slight chance. Same thing over here into eastern Oregon, through Malheur County and moving up toward Cascade. Not as much toward the Sun Valley area, not as much for Boise as well, but we're generally going to be dry, and this sunshine and heating is going to be taking place. In fact, most of these temperatures over the next few days are going to be noticeably hotter, up around 105 to 108 degrees.
America's looking for the kid with the best business in the front, party in the back. And it's up to you to decide. And guess what? You have 2 different Idaho options. We're going to introduce you to one of them next. Okay, care to share your thoughts on the Skullet? Text them to us at 208-321-5614. As always, include your name and the hashtag the208. How about name in front, hashtag at the back? That'll work. Text us anything about the show. Just keep it clean, concise, and clever so we can share it at the end of the show. Their forelocks cropped, hair grown long in the backs. That's a quote from Homer's The Iliad. So it seems the mullet made its mark long before Mel Gibson's Lethal Weapon days. It bounced from 8th century BC to the 1980s. We went centuries without its rearing its ugly head. But now, just mere decades later, hockey hair, the Kentucky waterfall, the Missouri Compromise, all of them, it's back again. And it's celebrated with a national mullet contest, believe it or not. Once again, the Gem State is well represented in this contest, with 2 Idaho kids trimmed with a Tennessee top hat for the USA Mullet Championship. It's an online competition to honor the achy, breaky, mistakey. Tate Reeve from Twin Falls, also known as the Curly Tate. And there's also Dylan Lisby, who's also known as Mad Dog Max. Well, Aspen Schumpert, she met Mad Dog Max on his home turf in Marsing this afternoon to see how he keeps his Camaro crash helmet high and tight.
It's a fight of the follicles, And 9-year-old Dylan Lisby from Wilder, Idaho, thinks he has a shot. He's entered himself and his mullet into the USA Mullet competition. It's for sure spiky business in the front and a long party in the back. But Dylan says it's hard to be so handsome.
Sometimes the tangles are not bad, but then every time I go out of the pool, they're hurting me. Every time I try to brush it, it hurts so bad.
And mornings are the worst.
It's like a rat nest, messy, all over the place. I usually have to, because the bag just stakes up, so I just have to spray it with the spray bottle and then brush it down.
His stage name is Mad Dog Jax, a tribute to his late father.
He died on a motorcycle accident, and I was 4. The Mad Dog came from my dad's initials, Mad Dog, and my middle name's Jax, that my dad named from this movie.
His mom also passed before Dylan was 2 years old, but Grandma is his biggest cheerleader. Dylan only trusts one shop to trim his do, Blade Slinger Barber Shop in Marsing. The first time Dylan walked into Blade Slinger was after he had cut his own bangs.
It's very off-center. It didn't look mullet-y, so we re-established the mullet, trimmed off his sides. We started doing designs on both sides.
Kyle says Dylan's hair grows fast. They're trimming every 3 to 4 weeks.
The designs, we couldn't even see them. It was time to tighten them up.
I asked Dylan what he likes about Kyle.
He has a cool beard. He does nice haircuts. He's pretty good.
After about 2 years with his mullet, Dylan's not sure if it's here to stay forever.
Yesterday I was moving a whole lot of tires and stuff, and I was just dripping sweat.
But if he wins the big bucks this year, he's giving half to his 27-year-old sister, the other half to fix up his dad's blue Durango.
You just gotta figure out how much it is to fix it.
Barber Kyle is ready for whatever hairdo is next.
I keep whispering in his ear whenever Grandma's not paying attention. Don't worry, we'll cut your mullet off whenever.
If and when Dylan is ready to say goodbye to his mullet, he says he'll donate his hair. Brian.
Moving a lot of tires yesterday, huh?
Yeah,
Dylan?
I guess he was.
I guess he fits the hairstyle, moving a lot of tires. Okay, so there's some money on the line for this.
There is.
How much?
$5,000 for the kids category.
Okay.
And there's 2. Like we said, there's 2 kids in Idaho. And so Tate is the other Idaho mullet. He's from Twin Falls and goes by the Curly Tate. They were both on Wake Up Idaho this morning. Brian.
Okay, so I was looking at that. His is not as, well, I guess it's not dyed, but it's Curly Tate. Where'd that come from?
I don't know. We'd have to ask him.
All right. So the question is then, how does somebody support our local athletes in the competition?
Right. That's a good question. You can vote for Dylan and Tate at mulletchamps.com. You can get 1 vote every 24 hours. Round 1 of 3 ends tomorrow. The winner of the kids competition, like we just were talking about, wins $5,000, and they'll announce the winner on August 28th.
All right, so he's had that for 2 years?
He's had it for 2 years. So he grew it for 1, and he's been maintaining it for the last year.
Wow, that's some
with
dedication.
the help from Kyle Reed, his barber.
That's some dedication right there.
It is,
All right, good luck to both of them. We'll find out on August 28th. Thanks, Aspen. Warts and ice cream aren't usually two things that go together very well, but they do today in the 411. Here's Jude Binkley with a few other things to know about from around the 208.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says 43-year-old James Ramsey, who led the white supremacist Idaho prison gang Aryan Knights, pled guilty yesterday to 1 count of conspiracy to participate in racketeering and 1 count of assault with a dangerous weapon in aid of racketeering. Now, all the defendants in a 10-person organized crime case from 2019 have pled guilty. U.S. Attorney Josh Hurwitz says the Aryan Knights smuggled drugs into the prison, collected debts, and attacked other inmates. Sentencing for Ramsey is set for October 22nd. The Idaho Department of Health and Welfare says 3 Idahoans have died from the heat this year, all over the age of 60. Remember these tips so you can protect yourself. Wear loose clothing, limit your time outdoors, stop what you're doing when your heart is pounding or you're gasping for breath, drink lots of water, avoid alcohol and high caffeine, and call 911 if someone starts throwing up or symptoms last more than an hour. Because of the heat, Stage 1 fire restrictions will go into effect at midnight tonight for the national forest lands in the Sawtooth and Cache zones. This means you can't make fires or campfires or use a stove except within designated recreation sites or private property in a fire structure, so no fires in dispersed campsites. You also can't smoke unless you're in a closed vehicle, building, recreation site, or an area cleared of all flammable materials. If you don't follow the rules, you could be fined thousands of dollars. And remember, your fires should be cold to the touch when you leave. Currently, there are not Stage 1 fire restrictions from the Bureau of Land Management. Idaho's potatoes could be in danger of warts. Today, Representative Mike Crapo, along with other U.S. senators, wrote a letter sharing their concerns over a potato wart spreading to the U.S. from Canada's Prince Edward Island potato imports. The disease can spread through infected potatoes and soil crops. Right now, there isn't a treatment to get rid of it in contaminated farmland. The letter is urging the USDA to restrict bulk shipments to the U.S. to smaller packages, limit large retail shipments, and control the waste from processing facilities, all to protect American farmers. Speaking of potatoes, have you ever dipped a French fry into a milkshake? Well, Ore-Ida took that idea a step further and collaborated with Good Pop to make a fudge and vanilla French fry pop. Now they're pre-dipped for you. If you dare to try it, they're only available for a short time. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Jude Binkley.
All right, before we get to your comments, Aaron wanted to know, well, if the Red Cross needs donations, how do you donate to them? Well, just go to redcross.org and you can find it there. Will be a link in Hunter's story on our website as well if you need to have a quick and easy way to get there. All right, let's get to your comments. This one from the Schmelzer family in Boise. My great-grandparents came to Idaho from Germany in 1895 because of that incentive for settling this very area. In fact, they owned land in Meridian along Chinden Boulevard from Eagle Road to Linder. So, yeah, there's a story there of the Homestead Act there that kind of helped, and that's where, well, the BLM land kind of picked up after that. Okay, so what about the U.S. Forest Service? Jackie wants to know, how many acres do they manage in Idaho? I did look that up, Jackie. Here it is. So the U.S. Forest Service manages 193 million acres across the country, but about 20 million of those are in Idaho, so a bit more in Idaho than BLM lands when it comes to Forest Service land, because we got all this nice timber out there as well. When that hairstyle first became popular in the 80s, we called them a bi-level. Mullet term came later, says Don in Boise. 80s forever. Yeah, it didn't come until 1994. The Beastie Boys had a song called Mullet Head, and that was the kind of the time they used it and brought it out there, and then it kind of went away after that anyway. But all right, I got to get to the dog, they say. There's a dog with a mullet. There's a lot of them out there. Whole page is dedicated to them.